Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Welcome to New Life Live. We are so glad that you are with us today. It's myself, Chris Williams, licensed marriage and family therapist. I have two licensed psychologists here. I have Dr. Jill Hubbard. How you doing, Jill?
Hello. Good.
And Dr. Alice Benton.
Hi. Hi, Chris. Hi, Jill.
Hey, guys, let's just jump in. Let's
do
go
it.
straight
Okay.
to the phones. We're going to go and we're going to start by talking with Zoe from Austin, Texas. Zoe, how's it going today?
Hi, I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Doing good. Glad to talk to you today. Tell us what's happening in your life.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. So I have a niece who grew up believing that her stepdad is her biological dad, and so her and I are pretty close. And I've always struggled with the idea that, this lie is upheld in the family, but I didn't, I want to keep the peace. And so my question is, I feel like, one day it'll probably come out because most things end up coming out.
Yes.
And so I've always struggled and thought in my head, okay, so when she asks me, why didn't I ever say anything? What am I going to say?
Yeah.
And so I kind of have an idea. I think of things in my head throughout the years of what am I going to say, because something came up a couple years ago when she was over at her stepdad, who she thinks is her bio dad's house.
Are her parents divorced, Zoe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. People had said something, and I don't think she believes it, and she's just like, why are they saying that? And, of course, so, we're just quiet. We aren't saying we didn't say anything.
So everyone's complicit in
everybody knows
in the
but
deceit.
her.
Right, and she's 29 years old now, and I'm in my 40s.
Wow.
But I was 14 when she was born, so we've always been close. But I was a kid when this when this whole ordeal happened started. Right.
Yeah.
So
the question for us is is what?
How would you suggest if she ever comes to me and says, is this true, or this is what I heard, or why, or if she did hear it's true and asks, why didn't you tell me? Why did you keep...
You're right to prepare for that. And we have some suggestions about how you might address it. I think even before then, I want you to consider whether or not God might be nudging you to have a conversation with her parent that is your sibling. I think that your sister, I imagine, about whether or not it would be better to reveal proactively, that somebody should reveal proactively rather than waiting for her to discover. There's so much more hurt when there's a discovery versus a disclosure.
Yeah, like pressing the issue with the people who are most responsible to the information.
Right. And first also even asking yourself, why did I keep the secret?
Yeah.
Right? Before you even go to them. Why did you? Well, you were 14 years old.
Yeah.
Right? They told you to keep the secret. And maybe it was never updated in your mind, right? Like, what are the factors that kept you? Like, what is the truth?
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes we need to start there.
Well, and I think that there's some really strong principles that we need to put in play here. And one of the principles is, from the recovery world, we are only as sick as our secrets. And so there is a barrier in the relationship, a disease in the relationship, toxifying the atmosphere that needs to be addressed. We're going to address more of that when we come back right after this break. But if you're struggling with something in this holiday season, again, go online. Go to newlife.com. Look at our resources there. If you need a marriage intensive, we have one coming up in February. We'd love for you to join. We're going to be back right after this.
I had been in porn addiction. My past had not been found out at all. Yet I had hit a point in my life where it was time.
Men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. The Everyman's Battle Intensive can help.
I never divulged what I'd been doing.
Find help today at New Life's Everyman's Battle Intensive.
This is a place that changed my life in such a positive way for Christ, because I could be the Christian man that I'm called to be.
Now the intensive is coming to Dallas, Texas, December 6th through the 8th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I cannot say enough what it does in the Christian community for not just men, for their children, for their wives.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. So glad that you're with us today. We were talking with Zoe from Austin, Texas, and she has this niece and who's believed her stepdad has been her dad her entire life.
Her biological dad, yeah.
And she doesn't know, but Zoe knows as aunt. And it's hard and disruptive.
Right, as aunt that's, was 14 when Zoe, or when the niece was born, right?
Yes.
So kind of grew up like closer, like cousins maybe.
Yes. And so what are the steps that Zoe needs to take from here?
I would say going first to the parents, step-parents, bio-parents of the niece, to say, I don't feel right not acknowledging this. And in fact, it came up not too long ago at a family event. And so she's going to be figuring this out soon. And I think it's better if we attend to it proactively. So I need us as a family to decide what we're going to do about it. I think let's talk about who the best person is to reveal. Now, Zoe, no guarantee that they'd be willing to, but you're trying to get this into an ideal disclosure. The person that has the closest relationship is part of the responsibility for this having been hidden for so long.
Or even the dad.
Or the dad.
Because he can really, start in with how much he cares for her and sees her as his daughter.
That would be the ideal.
That would be the ideal.
For stepdad to tell her and to reveal that information.
But you have to be braced that they probably won't. Hopefully they will. But the most likely thing is they'll continue the old pattern of behavior. And so then you need to decide, is it right? And should I be the one to reveal it if nobody else will? That's a hard decision to make.
Well, and even to tell them that I can't live with this anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm deciding if I'm going to choose to reveal it or not, if you guys won't.
Absolutely. Because the fear all along is what the impact of the information is doing to the niece. The truth of the matter is, if we liken this to an affair, it's like, well, it's not the disclosure of the affair or the discovery of the affair. It's the deceit of the affair, and the affair has happened.
Yeah.
Right? And so Zoe's niece needs a strong introduction to the reality of her own life.
Well,
As
right, and
hard
let's
as that
say
may
she
be,
has
because
kids. And then she's
that.
looking
Yeah.
into the DNA,
Absolutely.
right? Like all of that, and then you find out, and then
Yes.
that's devastating.
Absolutely. And, I like the suggestion of just like going to the stepdad and saying, hey, I can't keep a secret because it is compromising and damaging to my relationship with my niece. So let's figure this out. Or in 30 days from right now, her and I are going to go for a coffee and I'm going to let her know. Because I'm refusing to allow this to be a disruptor and a broken trust in the relationship.
Right, and when it did come up, like Zoe saw how confusing it was to her niece that she cares deeply for.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And this kind of revelation, it tends to go best if it's begun with an apology, humility, taking responsibility. We have wronged you as a family, that we kept this from you. Our hope was to protect you from the hurt, but we've realized we didn't go about this in the best way. So we're wrong to have withheld it. These are the reasons why, and we want to make it right to you, and we want to open it up.
I would even withhold the reasons why, because you don't want to sound defensive or you don't want to rationalize. I would start off with, we were wrong, period.
Right.
Yeah. Now, if she's curious
and later,
on why.
we can let you know
Answer
why.
that question.
But
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because...
Well, and also, I mean, maybe her bio dad is not a good guy, and so that was part of it, right? But they've also robbed her of the opportunity to really have known him.
Yes.
I mean, we don't know the circumstances, but that could be.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers here, and I think we all deserve the truth of our own life.
We do, yeah.
Reality is always our friend.
Yeah.
It can be a friend with a real edge to it, and it can be very painful. And if you do enter this conversation, be prepared that it will probably rupture things for a time. And yet it's revealing what needs to be known for there to be true relationship on the other side, because this is a false relationship with such a big lie withheld. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we are going to send you a copy, actually, of How We Love, and really helping that, not specific to this situation necessarily, but understanding how real, true, healthy relationships work and function.
Or how we love our kids. I'm wondering if that one would be better.
Well, she's 29.
No, I know, but it's the idea of what we do, like what they did as a family and how it affects those. I don't know, just a thought.
Let's go with that. How we love our kids. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So, Zoe, thank you so much for calling in today, and we wish you the best and God's guidance in this process. And along God's guidance, Alice, I love having you on the show, love hanging out with you, because you are the spiritual spice. You really do bring God into the center of all things that we do and we're a part of, and I know that he's at the center of your... So I want to tap your brain for wisdom today. What's on your mind?
Well, I've gotten to be a part of some incredibly rich conversations recently where people gather together were saying things like, I've been hiding emotional infidelity. I drink and my family doesn't know about it. I'm still using marijuana and my family thinks I've quit. I'm still lying. I'm sneaking some pornography use. There hasn't been any sex in this marriage.
It's quite a group.
It's quite a group.
Yeah.
There hasn't been any sex in my marriage for quite some time. This was one of the most freeing experiences to be part of a group of people who want to reveal the things that they're ashamed of, the things that they're hiding because they want to grow. The Holy Spirit was so obviously present and is when we get to be with people who are willing to talk about these kinds of things, because our character defects, our sins, our mistakes that are denied cannot be healed.
That's
the
really
things
good.
that we keep in isolation and secrecy maintain a power over us. And so I'm thrilled when I can be with people who will let down their guard and talk about the real ugly thing that's going on in their life because they don't want it to have power over them any longer. We can choose whether or not to face our faults and our shortcomings. And if we do not face them, if we delay that process, they will eventually be thrown into our face. So it's empowering to decide, I'm going to make some confessions. I'm going to reveal what's been going on secretly in my life because I want to heal and grow. Because if I'm not the one that decides to do that, it will come back at me through broken relationships, people rejecting me eventually because things aren't working with me, through impairment in my work, impairment in my physical health, mental health. We all decide whether or not we face those shortcomings and those mistakes. And when we do it proactively, we have so much more power over how quickly we get healing.
Yeah.
So it is such an honor to get to help people make those confessions, to be a part of it myself, because I've got my own issues that I need to continue to confess as well. And then the power of the body of Christ getting together like that is where growth happens and where the Holy Spirit can be so active. I share that because we have our intensives, we have our ongoing group community through the New Life Network, and you can make that decision to get the freedom by being with people who will be real, who will be messy, who will confess, and then heal and grow together.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, and that's really important that you mentioned that we have these groups that are safe places, because I think you have to be with people who are also growth-minded and who are willing to do that, right?
Yeah.
So you want to pick a safe spot to start.
Well, it reminds me of this conversation I had with the pastor of the church I was going to when I first got into recovery. And he asked me, why didn't you come to us? And in this moment of clarity, I said, because your entrance fee was too high. And I said, and I don't think it's your fault. I said, my perceived entrance fee into that meeting was my righteousness, and I didn't have it here. My entrance fee into my 12-step community was my sin. And I could afford that.
That's good.
I had a lot of that, you know. And I think that it's just a reminder. It's not to pick on him, because he's a great guy, great community, that, you know.
And that he even asked.
Yes, and made great
wonderful.
strides to create a safer environment for people to come forth with what they're struggling with. But that is the importance of that we need safe places where our entrance fee is our sin. If I went into an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting today and I said, hey, guys, I'm doing great. This has never been a problem of mine. I'm just here to learn, also to serve, and maybe to help you guys out. Right. It's laughable. But that's oftentimes how we go into some of our faith communities, rather than into our communities. And like you're saying, Alice, and saying, here's the truth about me in the dark spots. Me in the dark spaces, because it can't, to your point, it cannot be healed if it is not revealed.
Right. And I've talked a lot about when I went through a really hard time in my life, I gathered like 3 of my friends around that weren't necessarily as close to each other as I was to them. And I asked them to be my support group. And it was it was for me, like a place for me to talk and to share and to reveal. And consequently, in doing that, the group grew over the years to where then everybody was sharing and confessing and supporting each other. And still to this day, that's my tightest circle.
That's all. Well, and to that point, Jill, it really takes just one.
But it came out of a need, and I selected people I felt comfortable with.
That's good.
But when one person is willing to start by saying, I've got this problem.
That is kind of the point I was making.
It makes it safer for the other people who all have problems too, but we're so scared to admit it. But it helps the rest of us start to say, okay, I've got one. I can confess to.
Well, and that level of vulnerability, of truth-telling, it's also a muscle. You know, because in my addiction, I had little idea how strongly I was addicted to deceit. And that was also a muscle. Almost like lying about things that are totally unnecessary to lie about, because it was a muscle that I had built over a long period of time. Truth-telling also needed to be a muscle that I needed to build over a long period of time. Even practicing, you know, telling on myself when it's not necessary. I mean, like just fun little, you know, idiosyncrasies or whatever. But just the practice of I need to be a truth-teller person.
And there are a couple of things that hold us all back from this process. One is our hurt. When I've been legitimately hurt and I'm the victim, then it's easier for me to stay in a finger-pointing mode that you all are the problem, and I'm less likely to be able to look at my own problems. So we have to address the high level of hurt that all of us have, because we've all been injured in relationship. And then our shame-pride combination also keeps us from confessing. I'm probably so ashamed of the thing that I'm hiding, but I'm also prideful in wanting to keep an appearance of righteousness, and that holds me back from being fully honest.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to my point. It's like growing up in the church, I knew what to say, when to say, how to say it. I knew how to present righteous. I didn't know how to present honest, and I had to learn that.
Yes.
And learn how to present as the honest version of myself. Obviously, as you were saying, Jill, not dumping all my stuff to anyone who's around.
No.
But finding that safe community, those safe people. You know, that's really at the heartbeat of our life recovery groups and our life recovery movement, is that we are providing a safe place for you to see the most honest version of yourself and tell the most honest version of your story. Because, you know, to that point, Alice, reality is the raw material of transformation. Yes. You know, we can't work with an unreality because there's nothing there. We can't work with deceit because it's in, you know, there's nothing there.
It's crazy making, right? Because our deceit is another person's gaslighting, right? And you can't work with non-reality. You're right.
And though reality may be hard and difficult, you know, this coming into the Advent season, being Black Friday right now, is a great reminder that Jesus points his nose straight at the hardest reality on planet Earth and goes right into the center in the fullness of his grace. The truth that God reveals does not come without his abundant grace. So, as you're going into this holiday season, if you're struggling with something hidden in your life, get into a group. Call us. We would love to get you into a life recovery group, get you into counseling. Also, it being Black Friday, you can save 20% off of products and workshops today when you use the code SHOP20 at the checkout. So shop online at newlife.com or give us a call at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and mention the code. This is a great way to save significant amount of money on our upcoming intensives.
20% off is a lot off. That's great.
Every Man's Battle coming right up. So sign up today and you can get in with 20% off. Again, that's newlife.com. It's shop20. And there's a banner that will remind you of that if you don't remember. We're going to come back right after this.
Hello, everybody. This is Becky Brown. And as we end 2024, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's given to New Life. Your generosity makes it possible for hurting people to connect with the help that they need, help that can change everything for them and that will continue to have a ripple effect on their families, their communities, and even the world. Right now, you can double the impact of your giving through a $385,000 matching gift opportunity. Every dollar gets doubled. To make a tax-deductible gift and be part of Life Change, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com or text the word MATCH to 28950. That's 28950. I know that you want to make a difference in someone's life, and you will as you give to the match. Thank you in advance.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found life recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. So glad that you're with us. As we headed into the break, I had mentioned that 20% off Black Friday deal. You know, I also mentioned Every Man's Battle. I just want to reiterate that. It's coming up, last one of the year. It's in Dallas, the first weekend of December, so right around the corner. In fact, next weekend. If you are struggling in this area, please go. It's going to be as least expensive as it ever will be, and there's only one good time to get into recovery, and I'm going to reveal the secret of that good time right now.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
And what we were talking about in the last segment is what happens at Every Man's Battle. You're alone in your shame, thinking I'm the worst guy that I'm doing this. You get in those rooms and you find out, we are all struggling with the same sin problem, and it's safe to talk about it there.
Yes, the journey of freedom that I experienced in telling the most honest version of what was going on, especially my sexual life, though it was terrifying. And to your point, Alice, pride and shame were really, really trying to get in the way, and did a good job getting in the way for many years. But letting all of that go, letting it out, was my first step in being able to let it go. One attendee said this: it was a change life experience. It was a call to reconnect with God, myself, my wife, and to erase my shame and be free of the addiction and continue to engage in my recovery. So go to newlife.com and our intensives will be there. Sign up for Every Man's Battle today. We also have this option to write in questions. If you're unable to call us while we're on air, that is not a problem. You can still get your question answered on the radio if you go to newlife.com/radio, and we have a write-in today. So Alice.
Nellie, who listens on Spotify, asked, how do you protect your heart when you have to be in relationship with someone? This is about our daughter-in-law. My son took his life. He left an almost 3-year-old daughter. Our daughter-in-law uses her as a weapon. I feel like my daughter-in-law is an emotional abuser to me and to us. How can I protect my heart with her when I have to be in relationship, or she will cut us off from our granddaughter? We have to walk on eggshells all the time. I get anxious every time I see her or have to communicate with her. I even had a hard time receiving a gift from her recently, first time in 5 years, because it felt as if you had a husband who was continuously cheating on you, but then came home with flowers as if everything was fine. Thankfully, our granddaughter is 8 now, and we have a great relationship with her, but I also feel like we need to keep an eye on her because there are concerning things in the home life.
Wow, there's a lot going on there.
So how do you protect your heart when you have to be in relationship with someone? Thankfully, Nellie, there are things that we can do to kind of bulk up and strengthen up before we have to go into what sounds like a toxic relationship, but it's worthwhile for you to maintain so you can keep access to your granddaughter. So we just praise you that you're working so hard to remain an influence and a presence in your granddaughter's life. And I want to encourage you that this might sound odd, but as you keep doing your own work, checking on when I get dysregulated, what are the thoughts I have about it? What are the emotions I have about it? And where do I take those to get comfort outside of relationship with your daughter-in-law? Because by pursuing your own serenity, that's one of the best ways you can then keep a calm heart and mind when you have to go into a situation that will be unsettling and dysregulating. Just one other idea is to bookend those times with your daughter-in-law with a safe person before and after, where you do some prayer, preparation, and then on the other side, you decompress and talk about how hard it was. That's good self-care to keep you strong when you have to be with your daughter-in-law.
Oh, that's really good.
Well, and I think, Nellie, it's really important to have realistic expectations. You know who she is, and so to be aware of that and approach it knowing who she is, not who you would like her to be. I think there's probably also resentment on both sides. I mean, this is a deep hurt. Your son took his life, and you're saying his wife was an emotional abuser. And so how could you not have some resentment or maybe even secretly blame her? And then the daughter-in-law could easily be blaming you for the fact that why would your son take his life? You know, what kind of parent were you? And so you both carry extreme hurts and are thrown now into being in relationship because of this granddaughter. So I would encourage you to do some work around that. And if there's more grief around your son, and if you've got resentment, if you see your daughter-in-law and all you see is that, you know, she hurt your son, that's going to make it more difficult to be in her presence.
It's one of the painful realities I see in the aftermath of people taking their own life in suicide, is that the person that takes their own life, everyone else feels out of control, but it's like we have this inherent need to blame.
Well, we want to make sense of it,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
And we want to make sure it wasn't our fault.
Yes. Or we want to offload the guilt that we may feel because we feel some sort of sense of responsibility to it.
That we didn't know.
Yeah.
The family members who survive a suicide, they really need a very particular form of grief recovery because it's unlike every other form of death.
Yeah.
It's a pain that outsiders really can't understand. And so you need a community of other survivors, and there are great groups that we can connect you with, other survivors of suicide, the family members.
Yeah. I think that's really, really important, Alice, because not all grief is created equal.
No.
You know, and so having that specific process,
more complicated.
And I think we need more grace and less blame to go in these things. And so when tragedy happens outside of our control, again, doing the work of healing and restoration. And we know we still got a ways to go when we're stuck in blame and resentment. We're going to be back right after this.
I had been in porn addiction. My past had not been found out at all, yet I had hit a point in my life where it was time.
Men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. The Everyman's Battle Intensive can help.
I never divulged what I'd been doing.
Find help today at New Life's Everyman's Battle Intensive.
This is a place that changed my life in such a positive way for Christ, because I could be the Christian man that I'm called to be.
Now the intensive is coming to Dallas, Texas, December 6th through the 8th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I cannot say enough what it does in the Christian community for not just men, for their children, for their wives.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. Club New Life changes lives.
I think I go way back to listening to New Life, learning so much from it, and then becoming a Club New Life member.
Club New Life is a monthly giving family that helps New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people.
You know, I'm so thankful because you know why I keep giving? Because I keep learning, and I'm so thankful for all the lives that you touch every day and the people's lives. So when I get to still hear the radio show, it's just so encouraging to my heart.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
And you know one reason I give? Because I feel like sometimes I'm hiding behind a counselor's couch listening to all this great information and not paying. So my guilt of this great advice is alleviated by being a Club New Life member.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. And together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. So glad that you're with us today. I love hearing from our podcast listeners, and I want to share a note from one of them. It says, "Hi from England. I listen to your podcast and love it. Lots of expert advice delivered with compassion and straight talking truth. It's just the kind of practical help that Christians should be providing to a hurting world. Even if you're not struggling with something right now, at some point you will, or someone you know will be. There is so much professional and compassionate advice offered. I learn so much every time I listen about myself, about others, practical ways to tackle difficult situations. Anyone would benefit from listening." When you give to New Life, you are supporting, obviously, this program and all of the different ways that we are bringing help and hope in life's hardest places. Right now, your gift has a double impact due to a $385,000 matching gift. So you can text the word MATCH, M-A-T-C-H, to 28950, or go online to newlife.com or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Again, I just want to remind everyone, downloading the podcast wherever you get your podcast is a great way to connect with us. And I want to remind our financial partners, you're not just impacting people here in the United States. We have people all over the world, including across the pond in England, and we love our fellow Brits connecting with us, our New Lifers all over the world. We're going to now connect with Lane in Ogard, Arizona, who listens on KNLB. Lane, how's it going today?
It's doing pretty good, and thanks for taking my call.
Nope.
And you start asking the questions, and I'll tell you what's up.
Okay. Well, tell me, why did you call us today? What's on your mind?
I've been listening to you for a long time, and I think I called you guys a long time ago, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview. I've been married to, we were both born again. I've been married to a Christian man for 10 years. And I noticed on the honeymoon there was going to be issues. And so what I've done a lot of studying for 10 years, and I know I can't save him, and I know I can't change him. So that's why I'm calling you guys to get some advice about what he is. I'm going to give you a couple of diagnoses that I've come across on the internet. IED, passive aggressive, or possibly some narcissistic personality traits in him. And I'm a very strong Christian and a very strong personality. And most women I've talked to would have walked away from this. Counselors I've talked to would have walked away from this, but I hate to quit. I'm just not a quitter, you know. And I keep thinking within time, because I'm 72 and he's 70, and I keep thinking within time, you know, through God, he will get better and he'll stop. And I will admit he is getting better. The problem with this diagnosis is, and you know this better than I do, it's unexpected at times. Other words, sometimes he explodes and goes into a rage over hardly nothing. Okay, and sometimes I just want to stand up for myself because he wants to blame it on me. Okay, I don't have anger issues. I get upset, but I don't have them. I don't go into a rage. And he's threatened my life. I've called the police twice. This is the past. He's threatened to leave me penniless, but he can't do that. I've got myself protected now. And he threatened.
Well, Lane, let me ask you this question. What have you done to address with him the relational struggles that you've experienced with him?
I have told him that it has made me depressed. I have told him that I would like for us to go to counseling, but he doesn't want to share what's going on inside of him with a stranger.
Okay.
I'm the only one that sees this. It doesn't show up at church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, he you understand, because I know there's people like this.
Mm-hmm. And Lane, it's
want to look. Go ahead.
It's been to the severity of threatening your life and you having to call the police. I heard he's gotten better and that was in the past. How far in the past was any physical aggression or physical threats against you?
Well, it actually started kind of at the beginning of the 10 years, but when we moved to Arizona, I paid cash for the home that we're living in. And he said he hates this house, and you know, if we go, and he threatens divorce all the time. So unchristian. Every time he gets angry, he threatens the divorce. So he has left in 10 years. He's left 10 times, and some of them I've said, if the anger doesn't stop, you need to leave, and you need to leave now. So he left this last time for 6 weeks. That was the longest time. I never call him to come home, but he calls me and says, "I'm sorry. I love you. I'll do better. I've got to pray and let the God help me," but he won't get outside help.
And Lane, that abrasive behavior, at least threatening divorce, that's ongoing. That one is not in the past. Is that correct?
Amen, honey, because he did it yesterday.
Oh, Lane. Your heart keeps getting trampled on, and it has, starting at the honeymoon. And I would guess he was a different guy while you were dating, and then the true colors were revealed in the honeymoon?
Well, honey, you know, men will always, I talk to men because I'm in counseling myself. I counsel people myself, and here I am in the middle of it. But men will tell me, oh, we are always different when we're dating and trying to court a woman. You know, we put our best foot forward. And then after they get married and they've got this little woman that they've been wanting to get, then they become who they really are. And it's not necessarily who it was when we were dating. Do you agree?
We hear it all the time. We hear it all the time.
Well,
Lane.
we all do that, consciously or unconsciously, because we're not, first of all, you're in the initial hormones that cause you to fall in love, right? And then as those dissipate and we feel safer in a committed relationship, then we're safe to reveal the parts of us that we kind of kept in the background. So it's not completely deliberate and conscious. It just is the progression of relationship.
Well, I don't think it's a gender thing necessarily
either,
right?
It's not a gender thing.
Because our best selves are going to show up until our real selves do.
Well, and that's why we say you should really date someone
for a while,
like 2 years, because that's when the hormones start to dissipate and you see the real person.
Yeah. And I agree. Anybody that I talk to now that's dating, I tell them, please date them for 2 years and ask them any question you want to ask about who he is. Because we don't want to, and pry into their personal lives. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. And so Lane, it sounds like he goes from 0 to 100. So it's like striking a match, and so something happens right before the match is lit that feels injurious to him. and that feels, because he's so extreme and so threatening, and I imagine that he feels that threatened on the inside.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, and that's important to get at a time when he's not feeling threatened. Like, what happens right before? What's the pain? So you want to get at the pain. It's hard because this behavior is so difficult to deal with. So obviously you have to deal with that. But if you can talk about the pain before, and he may not know, that may take him some to get to that. Have you done any of that with him, Lane?
Yes, because we have. There's times I've been able to talk to him when he's been calm.
Good.
When he has been calm. And when he was gone for 6 weeks and he came back, I was under a lot of stress. I was willing to start my life over again. And then of course he always comes home. So you have to understand it. 10 years he's been doing this off and on, and he always threatens divorce.
Yeah. So Lane, let me jump in here, because you have a lot of things going on.
Yes, ma'am. Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do.
But you don't have a marriage.
Amen.
Do you hear me?
I'm going to agree with you.
Okay, so I'm going to give you... do you ever watch that show Shark Tank?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give you Shark Tank wisdom. So I think diagnoses are really helpful to help us understand what's going on, but they're unhelpful in the actual real-time interaction in relationship. And here's why. Like something like narcissism that shows up in so many different ways, and we all have a bit of that, to one degree or another. But addressing the actual behavior that is damaging rather than the diagnosis, that's what's helpful. And I think that's something you've done. But what you haven't, you said something that came from a place of like, you're kind of proud of yourself for not being a quitter. And I'm like, I am so sorry you're not a good quitter. Join the club. Quitting is awesome. Quitting has been some of the best decisions I've done in my life. Quitting things that don't work. So let me go back to the Shark Tanks. So when the sharks are getting, presented on an opportunity, do you know how they decline the opportunity?
I watch them. They talk to them.
Yes,
they talk to the people that's representing their product.
Yes, they address the specific reasons on why they cannot invest, and then they say, they say this really important line, and for those reasons, I'm out. That's Shark Tank wisdom right now. We all need a little bit more Shark Tank wisdom in our life to say that you're doing these things. These things don't work in a marriage with me. And for those reasons, I'm out. And it may not be out as far as like a divorce. It could be out as I'm out as far as a separation goes until you can take care of these things and they're no longer part of the marriage. And so
and I
find a way to be a really good quitter with Shark Tank wisdom. I'm quitting bad behavior. So Lane, we're going to go to a break and we'll come back right after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for your life and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back to New Life Live. So glad that you're with us today. We have been talking with Lane, and she is in a painful marriage. Mm-hmm. So, Lane, let's go from here. So, what I would recommend is talking to your husband, continuing to address the behavior that doesn't work for you. Be specific, and that you're continuing to be willing to work on the marriage, but not if he poses a danger to you.
Okay.
And so, the next step is, like, we're not calling for a divorce, but we're saying, hey, we may need some more time of separation for me to get safe, for you to work on what you need to work on. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm thinking intimacy and marriage in February.
I know that he's been resistant, but I mean, I would
Well,
even
this
say,
is different than going to counseling.
Well, and I think he's always like, hey, I'll come. He always comes back.
Yeah.
Right? And so say, hey, if you want to come back, here's a condition.
We need to do this weekend.
We need to do intimacy and marriage.
Because I think the stuff that's presented primes the pumps for then in the groups.
Yes.
So it may make him more willing.
And he has that pattern, which is that cycle of violence pattern, where tension builds, he blows up, then there is the aftermath, and then the remorse, and then the honeymoon that happens all over again. And that cycle has to be broken. Yeah.
Lena, I'm going
to
gently challenge you, because I'm so worried about you that he gets to come back perhaps easily and without any display of true objective change. And so I want you to be ready that if and when he leaves again, that you only consider having him back if he goes into ongoing individual counseling, and if you start to hear him taking responsibility, being empathic for how it affects you, and he commits to long-term change over time. Lane, honestly, 6 months of ongoing individual work is just a drop in the bucket for someone who has been at this level of threat and aggression. So I don't want you to let him back too quickly until you see outside objective evidence of change.
And one final thing in that, Lane.
I agree with everything you're saying. I do agree with everything you're saying.
And I would
you guys don't know how cruel he is.
Yeah.
If he leaves 6 months, remember I paid cash for this house and we're living off of his income. He'll shut the income down.
Well,
and at 72, I'll have to go out and find another job, which I'm kind of looking at too right now. But no, he doesn't respond to any kind of objection. Do you know what I mean? And say, this has got to be done so we can fix our marriage.
Okay, so but this is leaning back into what Alice was saying. If your marriage isn't safe, it's not anything else. That's what I was alluding to, in that you don't have a marriage. You have an abusive relationship, but that's not a marriage, and that's why it's really important to get into clarity on what's unacceptable and to get yourself safe.
Right, and if he's unwilling, well, that really tells you something.
Yes, he's giving you the answer.
Yeah. And so, Lane,
it's a game.
Yeah. So either way,
narcissistic people play these games.
So So, Lane, we're going to send you a copy of the book Trust. And
okay, that would be good.
Yes. So Henry does.
I don't trust him at all.
Well, he's untrustworthy.
Yeah.
And that's what's really important. And I love what Henry does in that book about really talking specifically about what is trusting behavior in relationship and what is untrusting, and then what we need to do to establish really strong boundaries around it.
Chris, when people won't respond to our request, then we have to bring in other authority. We have to bring in witnesses to confront. And then sometimes we need the law in order to put in a separation and a protective distance, because it's loss and absence that can sometimes get through to such a resistant person. Yeah. But you need that safety in order for those changes to take place.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, Lane, thank you so much for calling in today. And we want to encourage you and challenge you and cheer you on as much as as possible to get yourself safe, get yourself into a healthier position. One of the things that we have here at New Life that we've talked about, I've already gone to today, we're going to go to again, is the write-in option. We just had Molly write in with a question for us today. So, Jill, can you read Molly's question?
So here's what Molly says. What can I do if my husband stopped cheating and stopped porn but won't go to counseling? I always call at the wrong time, so I figured I could use this email method for my question. 2 years ago, I found out my husband was cheating on me, had a porn addiction, looking at photos of young, beautiful girls. After I found out all this, I made the choice to forgive and give our marriage a chance. He has rededicated his life to God, but still 2 years after, our emotional and intimate connection struggles. Could use some advice on what we should do. We have not had any counseling because he feels we as a couple can work on it on our own.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Yep.
There is often a spiritual reaction to a problem like this. And part of the answer is certainly spiritual. So confessing and stopping are good and necessary, but they don't usually lead to the character growth that is essential in order to rebuild trust. So you're asking the right question here, Molly. It's not enough that he stopped the negative behavior. More has to be added in.
Well, and he's dismissing the impact it has on Molly. Molly is hurt reasonably, and that she needs a restorative process and a healing process. And the fact that he's unwilling to go into that process tells me that, one, he's not into recovery. That's really simple. So if, and I put a big if, he is sober today and hasn't gone deeper into hiding, he's white-knuckling it. Because
he's still controlling
because
the situation.
The pornography is the symptom.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't get me wrong; it is a very significant problem, but it
has a life of its own.
Absolutely, it does.
Mm-hmm.
But it also speaks to another problem that's deeper down. And if you don't address that deeper down problem, you're going to end up playing whack-a-mole with addictions.
Mm-hmm.
Because that deeper down problem is the thing that he's medicating or the thing that he's trying to cope with. And to the point, like we talk about sexual addiction as an intimacy disorder, an inability to know and truly be known by another person, and usually shame's in the way, and he obviously hasn't addressed it.
Well, and the shame is still in the way because he doesn't want it to go outside of the two of them.
Yes.
He doesn't want to let a counselor in on it, even though it's completely confidential. And we therapists see this stuff all the time, right? So he's only willing to go so far. So he's doing the positive thing of rededicating his life to the Lord. Great. But she's saying there's still the struggles. And Molly, I understand you wanting to keep your marriage together. I mean, it's horrible to go through divorce. But this... And from what you wrote, and maybe it wasn't this way, it sounds like you jumped right into forgiveness without enough of what you needed to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's become evident. I think it's imperative that you guys go to couples counseling. Probably our intimacy in marriage, every man's battle.
He's got to get to every man's
restore,
battle. Yeah.
like our triple header.
Yeah.
Like 2 years later, when you're still struggling, you need a little more than just the two of you.
Absolutely.
So you might tell him, Molly, I can only get close to you once we start getting help. Once you start getting help and we as a couple. And if he remains resistant, then you have to start the withdrawal process, staying emotionally withdrawn, probably sexually withdrawn, because it's the loss of relationship with you and access and connection to you that will both keep you safe and might motivate him to overcome his resistance. And then you decide, if you will not get the help, this is what I am going to do. And you broaden the separation legally, financially, all the ways that you need to in order to stay safe and to try to help motivate him.
That's so good.
Well, and I think you say, I moved quickly to forgiveness out of fear.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That was out of fear. But
because the marriage is still in crisis. We're going to send you a copy of Worthy of Our Trust. And if we can't get a hold of you, Molly, call us. We'll get you a copy of Worthy of Our Trust. Thank you all for being with us today. And we wish you a great weekend. And until next time, be well.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again on Monday for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE. But when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.